welcome Star Wars fans to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from The Mandalorian Season 2, Chapter 12, The Siege. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive ranking on where this piece of content ranks amongst the rest. With that said, let's get this show started. I have been waiting for this episode for exactly 1 month.
I was just going to say.
I'm so excited to talk about this now.
Can you believe the last time we talked about The Mandalorian, it was the Bo-Katan episode?
Yeah.
Wow.
And what's really funny, if you remember, the last time I thought we were talking about this, we were actually talking about the Lego Star Wars movie.
Yep.
We can address the fallen stormtrooper that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
My kiddo watched it. He's like, I was like, what happened? And he's like, before, like, you just see, like, Mando fly up. He just looks at me, stormtroopers gonna fall. I'm like, what? And then next thing, he just drops out of the sky. Yeah, it was a fun episode. I got some takes on it today.
Ooh. Also, since we've talked last, the Mandalorian Season 3 trailer came out.
And what a trailer it was.
Oh, yeah. That was a trailer.
It's jam-packed with everything and more.
But it didn't also, like, give away too much.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it wasn't
typical
like,
good Star Wars fashion.
There's a silhouette of Maul in the background or, something where it's like, oh, we're going to just keep dropping all of these things on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't have any Boba Fett, so I can't give it too many notches. There was some stuff I felt like,
It had enough Mandalorian armor for you to feast your eyes on, though.
It did have a lot of Mandalorian armor, but not Boba's. So I'm really excited, though, because as long as they follow the direction of the Book of Boba Fett, we're going to get a whole episode this season about Boba Fett. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Oh, I would love that. Are you kidding me? That's fair. That's the only thing.
I think it's fair, yeah.
It's the only thing that makes this fair. Be square again. And if you're going to give us Boba, have him be like the Punisher.
Yeah, it'll get back to Season 2 Mandalorian Boba.
Yeah. We'll just completely skip Book of Boba Fett and just watch Boba Fett and Mando, and you'll be a much happier Boba fan.
But speaking of Mando, what happened in this episode?
Great segue.
What a transition.
Yeah, so in Chapter 12, The Siege, the Mandalorian rejoins his old friends Greef Karga and Cara Dune on Navarro to blow up a nearby Imperial base. Mando leaves the child behind at the local school while he and the old crew, plus the Mithril, invade the base and discover a secret cloning lab project. I can't think of Mithril without thinking Mithril.
Yeah, Mithril.
Yeah.
Also, I looked it up before this because I was like, does that guy have a name? No, he's just the Mithril.
Okay. Well,
They don't treat him very nicely in this episode.
No, he's actually quite annoying, and most of the reason why I didn't like this episode.
Because of him.
Yeah, because
guy.
of him and Greef Karga. So Carl Weathers directed this episode, and it really does feature the crew, like the supporting cast of The Mandalorian, more than it does Mando himself.
that's pretty true for any Mandalorian episode, I feel like.
Maybe. Yeah. But, where was I going with this?
You got to take it up with Carl Weathers. What was his?
Oh,
what's
yeah.
your beef?
He kept on trying to be really funny with the Mithril, and it just wasn't landing. Like he just
Take
kept
100
going.
years off your sentence.
Yeah.
You want another 30?
And he just
Get
kept
over there.
going, and I was like, it's not landing.
Mm.
It didn't, and I want to have a little good old chuckle when I watch Star Wars, but for me, it just kind of felt forced.
I didn't see those as much as trying for comedy, but more so as him like, hey, I'm the magistrate. You need to understand this relationship and do what I tell you.
There was one thing from this guy that I did like, and that was when Mando first walked into the sheriff's office or whatever, and he's behind the counter and he gets scared and like poofs out like
he like
whatever.
farts out of his face.
Yeah. I thought that was really fun and creative. I was like, why don't we see more like weird reactions like that?
Yeah, that was good. It's flatulent.
Yeah.
You both did not like this episode very much, though.
What are you talking about? I gave it a generous score.
You gave
Meh.
it...
It was mid.
You gave it a 71.6%.
A very fair rank.
Amanda gave it a 65.2%.
Yeah, it just didn't really hit. I did, however, like the other characters outside of the Mithril guy. I thought like it was really obvious when watching this episode that Disney had a plan for Cara Dune. Like the marshal is dropped a lot, and at the end of the episode, the X-wing cop tells her she should like get back in the fight. They could really use someone like her, and it's a really awesome backstory to have her from Alderaan, and she's lost everyone, and it just sucks that we really don't get that show. Like it sounds so cool.
It was really exciting to see where they were going to go with that. They were building.
Yeah,
they were doing well.
It was a lot
story.
of Cara Dune leading the way, and I love her character. So I did like that, but I don't know. This episode just fell really flat for me. Also, why is Baby Yoda in school?
Yeah.
What is he going to learn?
I mean, he's like 50.
Exactly.
Well, did you guys hear?
50-year-olds can't learn anything.
No.
They're done.
They had a cool callback to Solo, the droid teacher. She was teaching about the maw outside of the Kessel. And you remember that whole scene from Solo and all that? And it was like, oh, yeah.
Also, you had the IG-11 statue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Navarro's like a totally up-and-coming city now.
Yeah.
I loved that right when Mando got there, Grief Cargo was like, I'm going to have my best guys working on it. Guys, come over here. And they're like standing right there, like twiddling their thumbs. And then one of them, plants a tracker on it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Just waiting. They knew it was going to happen. No, like I said, I personally liked this episode. I gave it a 76.4%.
What did you like about it? What was like the highest ranking category for you?
For me, that'd have to be the immersive universe. There's references to the Kaminoans when you see their symbol on Dr. Pershing's, and I got a name right on this show for once.
Nice.
So
Right.
big ups for me there. That you see the cloning experiments, which I believe, are being hinted at that's Snoke. We have a Metachlorian reference. There's the Alderaan reference in there.
Mm-hmm.
You have X-Wing pilots, which came back from episode before. So there was a lot of that stuff throughout. You had the scout troopers that were brought back for the first time in however long.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a super cool sequence. Like, I love how they come off looking super badass.
On the bikes.
So
on the bikes.
cool.
Yes.
And then they immediately like clash into
Yeah.
each other. I'm like, okay, that was very real. Like, this is actually very dangerous. And they got a little cocky.
Yeah.
So, no, awesome sequence. The action in this episode felt top notch for me. I love the TIE fighter chase scene.
It was quite entertaining. Like, I was watching it and just enjoying it. Like, this was entertainment, more of a lore. Like, I ranked the immersive universe the highest as well, because I think it was more, I don't want to say filler, because a lot of people get offended when you say that, because it still had a lot of, the lab. It was progressing the story, but more so it was like, let's just return and see some of our favorite characters from the first season. Let's give them something to do. And this was a nice side adventure too. But I think for the technical aspects, what got me was the robotic ferret. Like, she's rescuing.
I'm so
Cara
glad you
Dune.
brought that up.
She has like her badass moment of like being a boss, killing everyone there, and then you have this robotic, or looks like stop animation.
It's like
thing.
puppeted or something.
Yeah. And I was like, that's cool, and I'm sure it takes a lot of hard work to do something like that, but it took me out of it, trying to just figure out or look at that ferret,
That is so funny you say that, because I had the opposite reaction, especially coming from watching the Mandalorian Season 3 trailer. My first impression was the season looks cheap. I could have probably saved that for my hot take.
Oh, season 3?
Whoa.
Yeah, I was really disappointed by some of the CGI. I could tell like already from the trailer. I think it's maybe them leaning on the volume again too much. But there was one scene where someone is flying like in Coruscant, and it just looks so obvious that he's like that it's a green screen. His hair isn't even moving. Like no awareness. And then also they had that, what is it called? What is Salacious Crumb's race called?
Oh.
Some type of monkey.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I don't
But there
know off the top of
was
my head.
one of those in the trailer.
Yep.
And it looked totally CGI.
Yeah.
It definitely was. And it was so obvious. And I was really happy to see that this little ferret thing was real because I love a good practical effect, a puppet, and seeing them just kind of take the easy way out, I guess, in the Mando trailer, just like kind of soured it for me.
To me, yeah, like, and I'm not saying that it didn't take a lot of hard work to do that, but I think just because it's a practical effect doesn't make it good, like doesn't mean it lands well. And personally, it was just very robotic. It was not animalistic. It was very robotic. And I don't know, maybe I've seen too many ferrets in my life, but it was just one little thing that kind of took it out of me. It took me out of that. But the only other thing I wanted to say before I forgot, the TIE fighter pilots. I love seeing those guys anytime they get on the scene. But I feel like they were kind of, the more and more Star Wars content we get, their skill and ability is cheapened every time they get a lock on and they miss. Like they locked on probably 3-4 times in this one, and it was just miss, or Mando comes in and like, saves the day or whatever. It's like, don't even show the lock on, all right? Because it means nothing anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Unless it's
Very true.
I think the only time we've seen anyone lock on with any sort of success is the good guys.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Yeah. I want to see.
You're
if
a
you're
good
gonna
guy. You
show
just need one.
It's like if
one
you're going to
lock-on.
show a lock on, give them the kill, because then it'll like raise the stakes for the audience, or like it'll make them afraid to see a lock on screen. Make it count.
It's true. I also didn't know that the two Imperials who were attempting to, let's see, for this episode, the TIE fighters with the folding wings were known as Outland TIE fighters. They were designed to land on level surfaces, which allowed for air superiority presence without a hangar, which were apparently useful in maintaining Imperial force on remote outposts. So little details like that they incorporate in these episodes.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like the fact that someone knew that and knew like, oh, hey, if it's going to be this, it's a remote outpost. There's no hangar. It's got to be this type of TIE fighter. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, I like little bits like that, and even little.
But it's got to lock on.
Yeah, it's got to lock on. Even little,
because these ones, these specific models that lock on, that doesn't mean anything.
Their targeting computers are still in the
Behind.
works.
Yeah.
Still working those out.
Other than the immersive universe getting my highest score, I wanted to call out the technical aspects of this episode. You mentioned the ferret, which I liked, but we've kind of teased it, but the aerial fight between the TIE fighters and the Razor Crest was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
How he like shuts off the engine and like barrel dives back down. Like that looked great. That whole sequence was fun. And then Baby Yoda throws up at the end because he's been snacking all day. And then you had also talked about the troopers on the speeders, and I thought the animation and all of the effects for that were really great.
You thought so?
I did. I loved watching them like bounce down the side of the mountain.
More badass.
They did.
Than the Return of the Jedi guys.
Definitely.
Yeah.
More menacing.
Even when they did bounce into each other, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like that would happen in this type of.
Yeah. I was like
in
just
this way.
replacing, I was like picturing them all on dirt bikes, because every other, action movie, these guys would be on dirt bikes. They'd be all dressed in black on dirt bikes.
Yeah.
But here, they're doing the speeder thing. You were going to say something about the CGI scouts.
It didn't look good.
Oh, I liked it.
No, I mean, it's like, it's a few notches above Legolas taking his arm and nearly breaking it and swinging onto a horse. So I'll give it that.
Oh, that was totally real, man. That looked so cool. 2 towers.
Yeah.
I like that scene, man.
You do? Have
So
you done
awesome.
that yourself? Like,
No,
jump onto
I'm
a
still
horse and
practicing.
Is he a high elf?
I think you got to start off practicing on a donkey. It's shorter. And then you work your way up to the horse.
Little pony.
Yeah. The Shetland pony.
Yes. Poor pony. Christian's nearly strangling it.
No.
I will.
You got to take care of those.
Anyway, it was bad CGI. I mean, it wasn't great for right now.
See, I didn't think it was bad CGI. I thought it executed the project of making them more menacing, and it didn't take me out of it in those scenes, and I was just enjoying that part. The trench run was all really cool. It was just good action, and it even had good little bits of comedy, too. I like when he's like, shut off the coolant or whatever, I'll take 30 years off. And he's like, there's no railing. And, railing in Star Wars is a thing.
My question with this episode, the biggest question we still don't have an answer to today, was the person in the lab that we saw as a part of this cloning experiment that was in those tubes, was that an attempt at cloning Palpatine? And was that some early version of Snoke? Or is it a completely different project?
Again, we don't know the answer.
I don't know.
But it does make sense that the Empire would try to build a person using the midichlorians and try to exploit that as much as they could
Yeah.
to build a weapon.
Yeah. It was a lab, supposed cloning. I don't know, man. I haven't
You got to take a
delved
prediction,
too
but
deep
if you
in it.
had to take a prediction, because you're a podcast host where we do these things, you got to say yes or no with everything we know. Someone's making you give a single answer. What are you thinking?
I just think that was a nobody that they're trying to perfect their cloning technology. And it didn't work on that one. Maybe it did. But I kind of see it as, that's a failed experiment, but they got a bunch of others in the background that you don't see.
Interesting. Because, they did talk about there was one person, unfortunately, in this episode. They said, unfortunately, didn't make it through the testing. So they lost that person. They went back to talking about, Baby Yoda and said, well, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to find anything else with a higher M count than that. So I personally still very much so believe that's an attempt at Palpatine. And that's why they need this high metachlorian count to give this and that's the whole thing, right? Because we learned through, I think, some of the books that Palpatine casts out the most perfect clone he had, which was Rey's father. Because even though he was able to live on his own and function as a real person and be independent and everything else, didn't have to live on tubes or anything, he wasn't a Force user. And Palpatine was just infuriated by that. So he kicked him out, sent him on his way, and again ended up having a daughter, Rey, who had unprecedented Force abilities. So that's why he put her in hiding, which I think makes a lot of sense when you're really focusing on whatever that clone of Palpatine was. Maybe there's some of Palpatine. I'm sure there's still some Palpatine DNA, which is, why he's still directly related to her. But you also probably have Baby Yoda blood and all these other things. So it helps make sense why Rey is just off the charts. Day one, bringing in, lightsabers and everything else. That stuff that fans were so up in arms about. If that's true, well, that solves that plot hole. So I very firmly believe that was an attempt at Palpatine.
And
I
you
like
got
that
all
thought.
that from Rise of Skywalker. What a wonderful movie. I'm glad it lays it out like that. And so this does it for you. This nullifies Rise of Skywalker for you.
I think Rise of Skywalker is a fantastic film if you've had 10 years of films leading up to it, like Avengers Endgame. And unfortunately, Rise of Skywalker did not give itself enough content leading into that movie for it to be able to stand up on its own, which is why it falls. It's too heavy for a show that is propped up on little sticks.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. We had a whole episode talking about that movie.
It falls on top of itself, whereas The Mandalorian does not. It's just solid throughout.
I hope that in this next season we do get a couple more breadcrumbs from this storyline. Like, is it like if it's Snoke or Palpatine, or if Snoke was being built to bring Palpatine back, or whatever that math equation is? Like, I want to know more about it because we need to figure out how somehow Palpatine returned.
Somehow.
Does that warrant its own show, or should that exist within The Mandalorian as another plot?
I think it could be just sprinkled in, like the puzzle pieces are sprinkled in a little bit in The Mandalorian, and maybe a little bit more will get filled in like Bad Batch or Ahsoka.
I think you could even, I haven't seen the Bad Batch season 2 yet, or what's coming out, but I think you could make that part of the pull of the Mandoverse. You know, the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, sure, the Book of Boba Fett, but like the Mandoverse, tying that in, making that one of the focal points. I think that'd be cool. Tackling it in live action.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do the Rise of the First Order.
Just hearing the Mandoverse, though, like sends like chills down my back in a bad way, because it's just like, does every single IP need like its own spin-off verse?
How did that start? Was it Marvel?
I feel like it was. Like, you had the MCU as sort of like the cinematic universe, and
I heard the multiverse, and that was like the first time.
Though they're kind of
everything.
They are kind of just doing it to themselves, though. Like, they're clearly like spinning it and like making it kind of like the Book of the Mandalorian, and you have a chapter of Boba Fett. Now we got a chapter of Ahsoka. Like, they are making it their own universe bubble, you could say.
Yeah, but why couldn't they have just made the Mandalorian like a big beefy, star-studded, like,
that'd be cool,
larger series? You know.
Well, before, and I'm with you. I wish Book of Boba Fett was branded as a Mandalorian spinoff, and I think I would have been most people, I said that back then, would have been a lot happier with it. Before Obi-Wan and before Book of Boba Fett, I remember saying, wow, the Mandoverse, that whole bubble of content is going to be the best Star Wars content ever when it's all said and done. That was my take. And then you had 2 shows that didn't exactly land. Now I don't know. Especially as good as Andor.
The Andorverse.
The Andorverse.
Andor. Yes, which I'm way more excited about now, except I would love to get like a lightsaber or 2.
No.
Sooner or later in that show.
You
like
get your
the last
lightsabers
season.
revoked.
Like the last season with like Vader. Get it toward the end. Give me 5 seasons. We'll earn
Amanda's
Vader.
like stewing.
We'll earn a Vader presence by then. That would be so
Well, there's only going to
awesome.
be 2 seasons of Andor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, the first
second-
season was 1 year, and then the second season will cover 4 years. Or is it vice versa?
Yeah, it's like 2 to 3 episodes take place in a certain time frame, and it jumps to
that's so cool.
before Rogue One.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I love that they're keeping it tight like that. That is
So you know
so
it'll be
awesome.
awesome.
I am so excited. That's next year.
Yeah.
I am
I know,
so
right?
excited. It's such a shame. So I'm also going to petition. I think we need to redo Return of the Jedi again, and we need a new special edition. I think Andy Serkis deserves to also be a Force ghost now with Anakin, Yoda, and Obi-Wan.
No, don't kill him. He's not dead.
He's not
alive.
No one's ever really
He's
gone.
Wait,
alive.
as Snoke? As Kino Loy?
Ooh, that would be anything.
They both appear.
Just anything.
on
It's just
either end.
Andy Serkis by
They both
himself
appear.
in the Star Wars universe.
I would
You know,
love that.
speaking of Kino Loy,
Smeagol.
this episode of The Mandalorian doesn't have him in it, but I did like. I'm really trying to fish for something
Wow.
here, guys. I
Yeah.
don't know where I was going with that one.
Wow, you were on to something though. And then I judged you and you felt me judge you and you stopped. Don't. I'm not judging you.
Yeah,
you're
you
doing
are.
a great
Yeah,
job.
you
You're
are.
doing a great.
But
I mean, it was
Carl
a bad
Weathers
transition,
directed this
but-
one.
Yes.
I was
And
surprised
he's
to see
going
his
to
name.
direct at least another episode in season 3.
Nice, because this is the first one that he directed, right?
Yes.
And he played Apollo Creed. And the new Creed
You
movie's coming
don't
out in March.
say.
You're working so hard to get us on, and I'm just pushing us off. Well, do we have anything else to say about this episode before we move into hot takes?
I think we said it all.
I think we're literally running out of things.
What was the final rank? The number?
99.6. No. 71.07%. So it's a lot of fun. Enjoyed this episode a lot.
That's cool.
It's not great, but I really enjoyed it.
Oh,
Yep.
I did want to say, sorry, I just remembered. For the music, points to LG, there was a little bit of acoustic guitar for the Mando theme, especially when he landed on Navarro. I made a little mental note of that. I was like, oh, I'm going to talk about that because it was nice and pleasant.
Yes, because Christian is not into tribal things unless chanting is involved.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm not into tribal things. There are some cool, like Dune, that soundtrack, almost all tribalistic. Freaking awesome.
Yeah, but you love everything about Dune, so that doesn't count.
Not everything, no.
I do want to just jump in and say that Jake and I at home, anytime we bring up Ludwig Göransson, it's always LG.
LG.
And NB. Like Succession Season 3 comes out in March, and I'm like, let's see what NB's bringing to the table.
Let's go, Bertel.
LG
So I hope that our audience has taken some of that lingo with them.
Yes.
LG.
LG.
Yeah. I said that at I was watching the new Creed trailer, and I think he's the composer, and I'm like,
yeah,
LG.
I know that. Same with us. Yeah.
There he is.
My boy.
Oh.
All right.
We love so much. All right, hot takes time.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is hot takes time. And I got one. Christian, you mentioned earlier filler is kind of a bad word. Yeah. And you mentioned how people can take offense to that. But here's my take. I do believe that this episode of Mandalorian, in fact, not only do I think it was filler, I think it was clearly and unapologetically filler. Knowing what color Carl Weathers was given to work with, and I know he wanted more Baby Yoda for the story and the kind of details he wanted to add in, he wasn't really allowed to tell this big, huge, immersive story. And he had a very tight window to do it. I mean, it was only 30 minutes, so he had to tell his own little 30-minute story with a lot of action up to that point and showcase what's been happening with other characters. It was an aggressive job. I think it landed. I think he did a good job of it. So while this episode is clearly filler, that's not necessarily a bad thing. We're able to check back in on characters we haven't seen in forever. It wasn't definitely a pit stop, but it was an enjoyable one to say the least. It's kind of like on a road trip. You ended up needing gas, and you pull over to you're like in Texas, you pull over to some big old thing called Buc-ee's. You're like, what is this? And you end up spending 30 minutes because it's the size of Walmart. And you're like, this is crazy. So was it a pit stop? Did it enhance the journey? Absolutely yes to both of those. But it was filler.
So your hot take is that this episode of The Mandalorian is like a truck stop.
A really good truck stop. And that's,
really
yes.
good.
Side quest.
Yes. You weren't expecting it, but here we are. And you left that being like, remember that one time on that road trip? That was awesome.
Yeah, so it's a really nice, clean bathrooms.
Yeah.
Clean bathrooms. You ended up buying something from the store because there was
Definitely.
something
There's
crazy.
a little jungle gym for the kids.
It ended up being a maybe not a top 10 moment, but it's something you're going to talk about for
Yeah.
a long time.
I think my feathers aren't ruffled, so it's hard to
It's
say
filler.
it's a hot take. But I do agree, even if I don't fully agree it's a full filler, but I don't think filler is bad. And I think for some reason it's a sensitive trigger word.
Reclaim filler.
Yeah, it's like
What the filler?
If you're going to have a filler episode, I think what is clear, what we have established with the numbers, the filler episodes have a high-ranking immersive universe, usually.
That's true.
And that's
That
what
is
we
true.
love about Star Wars, is the immersive universe, the lore. And I enjoy filler, too. It's entertainment, This stuff isn't supposed to be make or break your life. It's entertainment. It's fun. So I agree with that sentiment. Filler is not bad. I don't agree that it's strictly, unapologetically a filler episode, but probably milquetoast. I don't know.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, but I am also going to say it's milquetoast. Just
sorry, man.
I'm glad you took your soapbox and you used that time to defend the word filler and reclaim it in a good light. But that said, it's milquetoast.
You fool! Your take is milk toast.
All right. Well, I tried again. That's like 3 weeks in a row I've gotten milquetoast. I'm good with it. It's my own fault. I could have brought it, and I just didn't.
Hey,
So
at least
next
you owned
week-
it, man.
You know what? Next week's probably going to be milquetoast too, but I'm going to find a different
No.
random
You're
thing.
going to strike some chords, all right? You're going to find something provocative.
It's going to be one of those things. It's going to be milquetoast forever for a really long time, and then one of these weeks I'm going to say something,
Whoa.
and everyone's like, bro, like, you're going to get canceled for that. Like take a seat, sir. You need to
Hey, just have fun with it, you know?
Slow down, Brody. You got a little too crazy this week, penning that up. All right, who's got the next hot take?
I'll go.
All right.
So, as we mentioned before, I'm a big Cara Dune fan. But there's clearly a big with Gina Carano leaving her role open, and now we're going into season 3. So there's kind of only 2 directions Disney can go. It's either you kill her off screen, and maybe Grief Karga comes from like her funeral or something, or you got to recast her. Now, Star Wars is famous for not recasting anybody in anything, so that seems unlikely. But I would like to nominate Stephanie Beatriz from, you might know her from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, as the replacement for Gina Carano as Cara Dune, because I would really be sad to see that character not.
Who did she play
Which
in
one?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
She has like the curly brown hair. She also voiced
Encanto?
Maribel. Yes.
Okay, her. You think she would be a good Gina Carano?
She rides the bike.
Yes.
She's the badass in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes.
I gotcha.
She's.
You think so?
Yeah. I think that would be a good. I would like to nominate her.
But Gina Carano was like able to fight.
Yeah, she was beefy. Stephanie Beatriz is not as beefy, but also Gina Carano got her start in like WWE, right?
Yeah.
So like she's a wrestler
Or MMA,
first or
yeah.
something. But I would also be happy to see a different like MMA fighter or something take out their acting chops. But I really just don't want to see
Conor
Cara
McGregor.
Dune die.
So the hot take is recast or kill her.
Yes,
What do you want to see?
I want to see
Specific.
her recast.
Really? I want her dead.
Really?
Look.
Even after what we just saw in this episode, it was like really kind of pushing her story to like move up.
No, like I don't want to dishonor any actor. All the stuff off screen.
I
It's
think
like
you
you
do
know
that
what?
by killing her.
You think that is more dishonorable to the character?
Yeah,
I
than
do
killing
think
her?
so, especially like it's one thing if the actor or actress died in real life.
Yeah.
And then, their character dies or whatnot. But if let's be honest, it was an ugly situation and she was fired
Mhm.
and there was a big, fight in the Star Wars community and stuff. And then for the creators to then take a stance like, well, let's just
She's
kill
just
the character then. And then it's like, I don't think that sends the right message.
Because Gina Carano is not Cara Dune.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where I would say that's a hot take because for a lot of people, Gina Carano is Cara Dune.
That's where I'm at.
And like in recasting is not as, but maybe just as much of an insult. I could see, people saying that. So I would say it is a hot take. Good hot take. I don't want them to kill off Cara Dune just because she's there. I would just rather, like, they explain away and she's never on screen
She's on a
again, but
happy
she has this
farm.
mysterious, she still has this mysterious character about her and like not recast her.
I just always think of that Game of Thrones season, and I can't even remember the character, but like in season 3 or 4 or something, one of Daenerys's like hot boys that like ran around with her just got recast in the middle of the season. Like it wasn't even like after the season was over and they picked up. No, like the actor got like pulled away for a different project, and so they replaced him. And I was like, okay, that's weird. But then I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
It will be taken fine.
Mm-hmm.
But Star Wars has really never done that so far. Like they still bring Mark Hamill in to do Luke. Like, come on.
I would say, yeah, it would feel weird if they did it. But because they've done it before in other beloved films, you know, we've had 2 different Rachel Dawes in the Dark Knight trilogy, or like, whatever. Like, so I think it's very possible they could do it. I would rather they not, and I think that's a good hot take.
Thank you, Christian. What about you, Brody?
I think it's a good hot take. As you know, I guess if the hot take ends with you hoping that she's recast, I have to disagree. I think she deserves, or the character deserves, a Padme-esque funeral.
Oh my gosh.
Or however that song goes. That give her that on Navarro. She was a great hero. I mean, how touching would that be? Like, look, you would get the fans who like Gina Carano to be, you know, they would mourn over that. And the folks who may not like Gina Carano, in fact, disdain her.
They'd be like, she's dead.
She's dead. But on top of that, I guarantee you, they would also be bummed, not at her, but at losing a character that most everyone universally liked. And so we could all mourn the passing of this character together. And it'd be a great moment. It would bring us all together.
Oh man. Everything you just said was like cringe. Like that rebuttal, let's just say that was a hot take too. You know, we'll give that to you, man.
Thanks. Do I get voted up finally? All right, so you're gonna get a Roger.
Hey,
that wasn't much of
there
a
we
debate,
go.
So there you go.
Thank you.
Nice work. What did I write down? My hot take is, Grief Karga is a capitalist.
Oh, he's back to politics.
Free market capitalist. If you're telling me
yes,
I have to pick...
I upvote you. Yes, he is.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I want to hear more.
I want to hear more.
That's just my statement. He's a free market capitalist.
Why is that a hot take?
Because people get offended when you claim a stake on someone, especially like when we're talking capitalism, socialism, whatever system we're adopting here, and like a blanket broad statement. I mean, you tell me if it's a hot take. It was more of like, he's a beloved character, and I think what he was doing for Navarro is a really cool thing. And like, I think he has good intentions, and I think that's the right way to go about it. I think people in the community, and I'd be curious of your opinion, Amanda, on this, because capitalism could have certain negative connotations.
Sure.
That I don't agree with, but I think a lot of people get offended when you like start claiming like a beloved character claims a political ideal.
Sure.
You know, I hate it when people do that, especially, you know, we talked about like in Andor, or, you know, other things when they claim a character aligns with their political ideal. Right there, I think people are playing with fire, and it's like, you watch your step. You asked me to do a hot take, so I'm like, maybe this is one, maybe it's not.
Those are or maybe it's milquetoast. That's the third option.
Yeah, not.
I think a hotter take would be to say that, like, yes, he is a capitalist, but he's more of a Democrat because he's funded the arts through the sculpture of IG-11, and he's funded public schools that are free to join. So,
or was it a private school?
Well, I don't know. They were able to drop him in, a foreigner.
No questions asked. It was kind of cool though in that moment too. One of like interesting shout out I learned that protocol droid was teaching the kids. They confirmed that after the fall of the Empire, the galactic capital was moved from Coruscant to Chandrila, which is interesting because as you saw in the Mando season 3 trailer, they're back in Coruscant. So
yeah,
yep.
Oh, man, I can't wait for that.
And also I need to know if that rainy planet was Camino. that Mando's flying into or not. Like, why? Is he trying to learn more about cloning? What's up there? Really interested on that. We'll see. Back to your hot take. I don't see that as, I mean, right now, truly, when you look at any economist, capitalism is the only system right now that's proven to work on a global scale for like any
whether
Western
you say
society.
it's working or not.
No, that's not to say it's perfect. I do not prescribe to capitalism being perfect. But as of right now, with where we understand from just the standpoint of economics alone, okay, what's out, it is without, like, again, it's without perfection. So that to be said, seeing that, this oppressive force that's been over them has been lifted, and now there's trade, there's commerce. I mean, yes, there is a school system. It tends to see that, okay, like with this exchange of goods and services, and that's what's causing this whole thing to ramp up. It seems like, yes, in some way, shape, or form, he buys into the ideals of capitalism. And for that reason, I think your take is milquetoast.
All right.
I also agree that it's milquetoast. I think Grief Karga is doing... From this episode, we see that he's doing a good job at what he's supposed to be doing. He's rebuilding a city and, entirely rebuilding it and restructuring exactly how it was before. Like, the kids are learning at what used to be the cantina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he clearly has a vision, and I would say even like a progressive vision. But I think it's a milquetoast take because it doesn't really impact anything.
All right.
But I like that you...
You fool! Your take is milk toast.
But I like that you came out with swinging, calling people capitalists.
Do you want me to give a hot take? I'll give you what I think.
What do you think?
That's what I just told you. He's
Yeah.
capitalist.
Is that what you really think, though? I thought you were going to like double down with something like way more intense about what you think about, like, I thought you were going to
Like
say
the
something like,
Jawas are communists.
or like how capitalism is
Yeah.
the only way, and go like really down that road with us tonight.
don't think that
World
really-
economics does not really pertain to a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, I was going to say, keeping it,
Galactic.
chained to the Star Wars universe and relevant to that conversation.
What is Palpatine? What do you
Dead.
think he is? What do you think he is at the
An
core of everything?
authoritarian tyrant.
Yeah.
He is that. But like, you got to think about like, what are his economic policies? He had to think about these things, right? Like, there's only so much time in the day, but
He was elected rightfully to his senator.
yeah, so he had to be good at things. Like, he wasn't just sitting there being like, I am evil to be evil. Like, he did
Yeah.
things well. So what are those things?
Okay,
Like,
we don't want to get down like a Kanye West moment here.
I just want to know how he got there. That's all I'm saying, besides winning the people over. But
Tell you
maybe
what,
there's
I got
some
some
comic
books.
books or something you
you know
can
what?
look at.
I got some books. We can
there
share
you
notes
go.
after the show.
All right, fair enough, Amanda. No Kanye tonight. On that note,
This is the way to trivia time!
all right, it is trivia time. I think I have the question of the night. All right, I have the question. This is not Carl Weathers' first effort as a director. He has previously directed 8 episodes of The Silk Stockings in 1991, Hawaii 5-0 in 2010, as well as a whole bunch of other Hawaii 5-0 episodes that I have not seen. And he also directed 5 episodes of a specific show in the year 2000. Was it A, Blade Runner? Was it B, the Batman animated series? Was it C, Sheena? Or was it D, The Lost Tales?
I'm going to go with B, Batman, because that's the only one that I know.
Yeah, what was the he directed a show, like 5 episodes. Of
5
something?
episodes
Did
of a
Blade
show.
Runner have a show?
I don't think so.
Nice. You tried to fool us with that one.
And
We caught it.
Sheena sounds made up too. And what's the very generic one?
The Lost Tales.
Very cool there. I'm gonna go
Very
with
vague.
Batman.
I couldn't think of a D. I was literally making that up on the fly.
Beautiful.
Like, there's got to be something called the Lost Tales. I don't know. Lost Tales.
The Lost Tales.
Well, it's not the Lost Tales. And it is not the Batman animated series. Which I
Oh.
don't think went to 2000. I think they were at Batman Beyond by then. Yes, there is no Blade Runner show. He directed 5 episodes of a show called Sheena in
Oh.
2005.
2005 or 2000?
2000. Sorry,
Okay.
2000.
Well, I was gonna say redo.
Yeah, you lied.
I lied. No, it's 2000. So, yeah, that's what Carl Weathers did.
Cool. I have to check it out. I've never heard of it.
It's basically like a lady Tarzan. That's
Cool.
what the show is. Yep. That's her show. So,
Does she save a man and he?
yes, I think so. I think you're right.
Very cool.
I think that's
Huh.
literally how I haven't seen the show, but I'm pretty sure that's the premise of it. So that's this week's episode of Duel the Ranks. On that note, thank you, Carl Weathers, for creating this very fun piece of Star Wars content. Everyone else who worked on it, lots of fun. And thank you, listeners, for checking out this week's episode of Duel the Ranks. You want more info on it? Christian, what do they do?
Google dueltheranks.com. You can see all of our numbers indexed there. We have our Twitter. We have our Discord you can jump on in the conversations. We've got, man, what else we got? We got TikTok. We got
We
a lot
do.
of things out
We
there.
do.
And you can interact with us. Share us your own hot takes. Submit hot takes. You can like and comment on our blogs.
Or join us when we go live at 6 p.m. Central on Thursdays.
Yes.
Except next week, I will not be here.
And neither will Christian.
And neither will
Neither will
Christian.
I.
Oh, I got to message the person. who's
And
my
I
co-host.
also know what next week's episode is about, and I'm really sad that I'm not going to be here.
Dude, are you sure you want to do this? Why not just postpone?
We can't postpone. We postponed once. And like we do that once every year and 3 months. That's all we get.
Yeah.
That's all we get.
That's it.
And that's and it ticked and it showed in the listenership. People forgot we were back. So we just got to keep this thing going.
Yep.
We got to keep it going. We made this for you, and we're not gonna stop. That said, that's this week's episode of Duel the Ranks. Looking forward to seeing you next week for Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian Season 2.